Savor every last drop of summer with Starbucks. From bold refreshers to rich cold brews, the sunniest season only gets better with a handcrafted iced beverage in your hand. Available for a limited time. Your summer favorites are ready at Starbucks.
5 a.m. I'm up with a crisp Celsius energy drink. Running 12 miles today. Grab a green juice, quick change, and head to work. Meetings, workshops. One more Celsius, no slowing down. Working late, but obviously still meeting the girls for a little dancing. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
Hey, I'm Candice Lim.
And I'm Lindsay, and you're listening to ICYMI.
In case you missed it.
Slate's podcast about internet culture. And if you're a timely ICYMI listener, there's a good chance you're hearing this episode the same weekend that New York City is celebrating Pride. Mm-hmm. Now, I have to admit, I will be in Mexico when this is happening, not to brag. But Candice, have you ever been to Pride?
You know, I gotta say something real sad. I've never been on a corporate Pride float. I haven't done the activities.
No, you've never been on like a rainbow chase.
I know.
Structure.
You know why? I don't like the traffic. There's a Modern Family episode about it. Don't love the traffic.
Well, as Pride Month comes to a close, we wanted to do our own ICYMI-style celebration. But rather than me and Candice explaining what this episode is about, why don't we have Troye Sivan, Joey Graceffa, and more tell you themselves.
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Troye Sivan, and this is probably the most nervous I've ever been in my entire life. But I'm going to deal with it because I have something to tell you guys, as you can probably see by the title of this video. I want you guys to know that I'm gay.
Well, I might as well just say it for real. Obviously, this has been taken away from the video, but I'm gay.
I was born in the wrong body, which means that I am transgender.
So today, I want to talk to you guys about that and be open and honest and tell you that I'm gay.
Now, I don't want to get your hopes up. This isn't a love story. But this is my coming out story.
Alright, I guess I am just going to get right to it. There's something that I want you to know. And that something is I'm gay. It feels so good to say that.
Yes, today we are talking about the era of the YouTube coming out video, which was basically the entirety of the 2010s.
During those years, the U.S. saw so much progress in LGBTQ plus acceptance and representation, including a SCOTUS decision legalizing gay marriage nationwide in 2015. A part of this growing acceptance online included prominent creators speaking up about their own sexuality, creating essentially an entire genre of YouTube videos.
The sit down, the sigh, YouTubers walked so the Real Housewives could run.
And then, of course, the relief, because, YouTube is now made up of so many queer communities, even though in so many other ways we are living in a backlash to that 2010 progress. But we can't forget the role the internet played in mainstreaming that acceptance. According to data from YouTube, August 2017 was one of the most popular months for coming out videos.
But today, we're actually talking about one specific video, which you heard at the end of that clip montage.
Ingrid Nilsen, an OG YouTuber and lifestyle content creator, posted perhaps the most memorable and certainly one of the most viewed coming out videos from that era. And she's joining us on today's episode to talk all about it.
We can't wait to hear all about Ingrid's journey and what she's been up to. But first, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll chat with Ingrid about the behind the scenes of her coming out video and later how the reaction and backlash to the video affected her coming out journey.
Hey there, if you love our podcast, then maybe you should consider subscribing to Slate Plus. And if you love couples therapy, even if you just watched it on TikTok, then you should definitely give our latest bonus episode a listen. Not only will you have me and Candice chatting raw, real, unfiltered, but ICYMI producer Vic Whitley-Berry also joins us for this episode to dish on their favorite couples and also spill the tea about the fact that they are also in couples therapy. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts by clicking Try Free at the top of our show page, or visit slate.com/ICYMI+ to get access wherever you listen.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pricing coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. You know what doesn't belong in epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. You should be planning beach trips and barbecues, and your wireless bill should not be holding you back. That's why you should switch to Mint Mobile. I love the quality of Mint Mobile's wireless service in comparison to my old provider. I take a lot of calls to and from work, and I have to say, they don't drop, and I'm saving so much on Mint Mobile. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/ICYMI. That's mintmobile.com/ICYMI. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month, 5GB plan required. Equivalent to $15 per month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
And we're back. And joining me in the studio, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is a YouTube OG, formerly known as MissGlamorazzi, and the co-founder of the candle company, The New Savant, Ingrid Nilsen. Ingrid, welcome to ICYMI.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, Ingrid, we've been looking forward to this for weeks because we just have to address the elephant in the room, which is that Kate and I love you. We both grew up watching your videos all the time.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I love hearing that.
No, literally, when I was doing research, the video that I think I actually went to most often was you had a sort of short hair tutorial video, a few different styles. And it was Bible. It was oh, here's what I can do. Because sometimes it really feels at a certain length that there's not much there.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I'm about at that length right now.
Yeah.
Once again.
I have a video for you if you want to get some inspo. But yeah, we've obviously seen a lot of your work, but one thing we don't know about you, which is something we ask all first-time guests on the show, is what is your first internet memory?
My first internet memory, I'm really torn because I can't remember which one happened first. Mm-hmm. It's a tie between Encarta, the encyclopedia,
my gosh, yeah,
which I was obsessed with. I just thought it was incredible that you could look up anything, because I was so used to in school when we would do projects, we had to look in a physical book encyclopedia, and sometimes things weren't listed. And then when Encarta came around, I was like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. And the second memory is AIM or AIM. Yeah. I feel like people had different names for it, but watching my friend go online on her family computer, and she was showing me her screen name and how messaging worked.
Yes.
So those are my two memories.
I was going to ask, did you ever get on it? Do you remember what your name was on AIM?
Yes, I had multiple.
Okay.
I feel like
I did as well. I did as well, yeah.
To fit your moods.
Yeah.
I definitely had one that was related to Buffy the Vampire Slayer at one point, and I can't remember what it is, unfortunately. I had another one that was like Cali Beach Bum. And
Solid.
And then I had like You Rock My Socks, but like obviously spelled with like all different capitalizations.
I feel like that one is like a really common one because there was definitely a You Rock My Socks at my school too.
Yeah. And then I would like transfer that over to my Zanga account, like use like the same name on my Zanga account, and it was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
I love talking about your own internet history because in a weird way, I think Kate and I would agree you are a part of our internet history. And before we dive into the meat of today's episode, which is about the 10-year anniversary of your coming out video on YouTube, Ingrid, I also wanted to shout out another little-known iconic contribution that you made to the YouTube canon, which is you did the first Vlogmas. You invented Vlogmas. How does it feel to be a Christmas icon?
I never saw this for myself at all.
Santa said that too. Yeah.
Santa said that too. Yeah.
Just me and Santa. Yeah. I think that it is it is mind-blowing to me still that this is something that just keeps living on across different platforms. Like people do it on TikTok now, and it's just something that has really stood the test of time. And it really just started off as this fun experiment. And I just thought, because like vlogging had just started to become a little bit more popular, like in terms of the consecutive days of vlogging, it started to become more popular. And I was like, oh, it would be so fun to do an advent calendar, but in video form. And that's where Vlogmas came from. And my community named it, so I can't take credit for the name.
Oh, right. Yeah, it was like you're like, what should we call it?
Yeah, so it was a group effort. And yeah, it's just wild to me now that it's still going, alive and well.
Yeah. It's like everyone's like, it's like for a lot of people, actually, it really is like it's not Christmas until Vlogmas starts.
Right.
Like it's like not just an internet thing. It's like a Christmas thing.
Yeah.
But you've actually, mostly been off YouTube for around 5 years now. You first started posting, or at least the first video that is available, the oldest one, is from 2009. And what you posted, kind of a mix of everything, mainly beauty hauls, hair tutorials, that's where, shout out, that was where I was showing up, but other lifestyle content, things like that.
And then on June 9th, 2015, you posted what would become your most popular video. It's called Something I Want You to Know, coming out.
And that video now has over 18 million views. And so on June 9th, 2025, you briefly returned to YouTube to reflect on 10 years since you posted that now like iconic video. So I want to start with back on that day. What were you thinking and feeling when you finally pressed upload? Or I guess when the upload was complete, because it's probably anticlimactic because you probably had to wait a bit for it to
I know.
buffer.
It definitely, oh my God, I have so many stories about uploading videos and the whole back end of YouTube from the early days. It was definitely more sophisticated by 2015, but I felt immense relief when I made that video live, because I literally just closed my laptop and then celebrated and went on a road trip with my friends. But leading up to that, I had so much anxiety because there was so much going on behind the scenes. I was not only coming out to my friends and my mom, but I was also, coming out to people that I worked with, and not everyone was supportive about it. And it was just like a very, very emotional, stressful time, and there was just a lot circulating in my head. I was scared, I was worried, but I was so sure that this is what I wanted and needed to do. So when the moment came, it was like all that buildup was finally able to be released. And I went on that road trip with friends because I just didn't want to know what was happening on the internet. I wanted to be able to like disconnect and like be in my life. So I told my friends that I was with, I was like, don't tell me what's happening. And so they would like go off. I remember at Airbnbs, they would like go off into another room and I could just hear them like making noises. And I was just like, I don't want to know what is happening. So it really wasn't until I got back from that trip that I realized what was going on. I think like the first 24 hours, my friend was like, oh my God, it has like 1 million views in 24 hours. And I was like, don't tell me anymore. I don't want to know. So that's what that experience was like. I was pretty much in the dark, but I think it was so good for me to have that, to like just be with people that I really loved and to have this like full circle experience, because we did a road trip to Maine, and that's like where I had my first inkling of I need to go through this coming out experience. So to be there after coming out just felt really good.
Yeah. And had you tried filming your coming out video before? Like, were there other versions in the drafts or anything like that?
Nope.
One take.
I sat there in the hot corner of my apartment and it was so hot because I lived on the west side at the time, and it was the age of, if you live on the west side, you don't need air conditioning in Los Angeles, and you definitely did. So I had to like close all the windows and everything to film my videos. So I was roasting in that room.
You're like, they're like, I'm not doing this more than once. You're like, I gotta get this out.
I was like, I can't do this again. The crying, the sweating, like it's all too much.
And you know, it is to date one of the most like popular coming out videos of all time. And you know, you said you spent time away. You didn't really check any of the response until you came back, but like clearly it resonated in a huge way. Do you have any thoughts as to like why it made the impact it did?
I think it's multifaceted. I think just in general, I think a lot of people had not seen someone that looked like me, who is mixed race, who is feminine, who's really into beauty, who also had this established career up until that point, come out. And, you know, I did come out in my mid-20s, but that's still pretty young. And so I think all of that together, people just could not wrap their heads around it. And I think especially when you look at the other coming out videos that were out at that time from larger creators, most of them I would say were white, young, more stereotypically gay. And so to have someone like me coming out, people were just, I mean, I remember one of the main things that people kept saying over and over was, but you don't look gay, but you don't look gay. There was just such this like emphasis on how I looked and what my interests were, and like there's just no way this could be possible. And there really wasn't much representation in media either. So I think that people were just stunned. They were like, oh my God, how could this be? This doesn't look like what we're used to seeing.
I think something I love about your 10-year reflection video is that it's really clear that the person who stands like before us now, you showed your younger self so much grace. And I think that grace is eminent because you also shared that there were people behind the scenes in 2009 discouraging you from coming out and kind of being a little bit hesitant about it. What was their reasoning for that, and what did it take for you to push through what they were saying?
Yeah, I mean, it was very much on the business side, and I think this still happens a lot in the entertainment industry and other industries, but this is what I'm most familiar with. On the business side of things, there were people behind the scenes telling me not to do this because it would ruin my career, my brand partnerships would fall through, and no one would want to work with me anymore. So, you know, there were different options, and I'm using air quotes here, thrown out for me in terms of what I could do. Like I could keep it private and like publicly still go along with what I had been doing, not say anything about dating women, and make sure that I was sure.
Oh, right, of course.
So that's like one example. And that was really hard because these are people that you are, or at least I was working really closely with, and you feel like you know them, and then something like this happens, and it's like, oh my gosh, there is a great divide here. And suddenly I'm having to defend myself and for just who I am. And it was just really painful. And I just remember I mentioned in the video this man named Max, who I also worked with. I remember running from one office in the building that I was in to his office. Like, I had no conscious thought about, I need to go and see Max. It was just like my body took me there. And I remember going to his office, and he saw immediately that I was upset. And I remember he just like closed the door and was just like, what is going on? And I came out to him, and he's gay, and he just immediately embraced me. And it was such a contrast to what I had just experienced across the building. And I do want to say that the way people acted then is not how I think they would show up now. I think that, you have to give space for people to change. I can only speak to what happened at that time, but just like thinking about where we are now, I'm just so confident that that person would not respond in the way that they did back in 2015. Like, I'm sure that there has been a lot of change. And look, nobody's going to show up and be perfect all the time. So while it was painful in that instance, I still made the decision to post the video because I had conviction in that. And I knew that I needed to do it, not for my business, because everybody was telling me that it was a bad business decision. I needed to do it like for myself. And so I think now I can look back on that and, have grace for myself, for the other people involved. And, it was really painful. And I've also been able to process that and work through it and see it from a different place now.
Yeah. And how people would react was likely one of the biggest what ifs you had to overcome before posting your coming out video. And once it was live, people did have thoughts. And we want to talk to you about what came after coming out online. But first, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the response to Ingrid's video and how life has changed for her in the last 10 years.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little there, just hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill, too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Oh, ICYMI listeners, do I have a scoop for you? So what is it, you ask? It's that Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Now, before anyone goes suggesting that this is just a rumor, know that there's actual proof that this kettle of tea is not only piping hot, but 100% true. So, yeah, sometimes it pays to be a little nosy, but it always pays to discover. Based on the February 2024 Nilsen report, learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
When you hear Lululemon, you probably think of Align yoga pants, weightlessly soft, like you're wearing next to nothing. That's why you see them in class, at the grocery store, and in the park. But did you know about skirts with built-in liner shorts so you can still jump for the Frisbee? And tanks and bodysuits? With Align's iconic stretch, you won't want to take it off. And with endless style options, you don't have to. Shop in-store or online at lululemon.com.
And we're back with Ingrid, and I do remember exactly where I was when the video was posted. So I had graduated from college that summer, and I was in Boston. I was walking to the T from my internship, and I literally stopped in my tracks, and I texted it to my friend because she and I had bonded in college over both liking YouTubers. And we talked about this a little bit in the previous segment. You can see in the comments that shock was the biggest reaction to this. And you touched on it a bit, but I guess, why do you think that is? But also, was that hard to hear that everyone was like, but you don't look like it? Did that, especially because this is something I'm just thinking about, having to come to terms with yourself and being met with doubt almost. That was interesting, probably, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I think you don't look like it was probably the nicest.
Oh God.
Of the not so great comments. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people called me a liar. They said that I was doing this for attention or views, or I mean, on and on and on, that it was just a phase, that, I would change my mind. I think if you can think it, somebody probably said it to me. And I think it took a little bit for all of that to fully hit me, just in terms of how scary it was. My personal safety was compromised, and that to this day is still scary to me. I still have moments where there are, people and things and movements that will spook me and bring me back to the moment of coming out and the aftermath, and not everyone supporting it or understanding it. And I do remember this was maybe a couple weeks after I had posted that video, and I remember just having a breakdown and crying because I was so scared and in so much pain that people thought I was lying and doing this for attention, and just couldn't believe that this was me. And I do want to say there was a lot of positivity, but I'll never forget John Green in my comments fighting for me.
Oh my God.
He was fighting the trolls in my comments at one point. And yeah, that is, I think that kind of sums up what was happening in the comment section of that video. Whereas, the contrast to that, where you had the Troye Sivans coming out and the Connor Frantas and, people, the overarching comment section wasn't, oh my God, I'm so shocked, or wait, you don't look like you're gay, or, they probably did get some of those comments, but mine was just filled with comments like that. And so it was a very different experience for me. And I did notice a difference in terms of my career, being in rooms where I suddenly was not valuable to men because of my sexuality. And, there were other ways previously that I had been devalued just not even including my sexuality, but that just took it to another level. And that's why I think the intersectionality of the experience is something that I'm always going to be processing, because it's not linear. It's like this whole like maze of an experience. Like one thing connects to this thing, but then it goes back over here. And every year I always learn something new from it and have a new insight into it, because it was this huge viral moment that I wasn't expecting. And so many people were reaching out for interviews. They wanted me to write books. I was offered book deals that I turned down. I was just like, I am trying to survive over here. I am so overwhelmed. I'm trying to process this emotionally. I can't possibly write a book right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's when you're saying like to this day, still things will like ping or whatever. And, in your coming out video, you explained that your sexuality also had been something you were aware of and grappling with for your entire life before you brought it online. But I'm curious how much incorporating the internet into your sexuality like helped in any way, if it did, it evolve even further from sort of the work you'd already done personally, internally.
Yeah, definitely. One person who wrote an article about my coming out video, which I still think was the best piece of content to come out of my coming out video, was Akilah Hughes. And she's incredible. Yeah. And she wrote a piece on my video and what it would mean for culture for a mixed race woman who's feminine presenting to be out. And, that really put words to this very internally chaotic experience that I had been going through. Sometimes you just need somebody else to name it for you because you're so inside of yourself. And that piece that she wrote is really what just brought me clarity in terms of all of the things that I was feeling all at once, and gave me language for it. So then I could move forward and process that more deeply.
Yeah. And also actually something you're saying, I realized for the first time, because when you came out, it was representation of, very femme, like women, lesbian coming out online. For a lot of people, you immediately became like a role model or like a authoritative figure in this space, when actually you were also kind of doing it for the first time. And I'm just realizing like how weird that must be to like represent that when like you're actually just as new to it as everyone else.
Yeah, I definitely felt that. And also at the same time, I understood that there is a certain amount of responsibility in terms of, showing up publicly. And also I had to give myself space to grow and learn and evolve into the person that I was meant to be. So I had to, balance those two things. And, I'm not perfect, but I've always tried to learn from mistakes and show up better the next time. And I think that's the best that anyone can do. And it was a weird experience, like suddenly being thrust. You're like new to like this community, and then you're thrust into the spotlight, and people are like wanting you to talk about being gay. And, it takes time to really, like, you can be gay in terms of like who you're attracted to. You can, sleep with people. You can be attracted to people of the same sex. But I think my queerness took time because I had to take time on my own to learn about, the history of the community and really spend more time with other queer people. And you learn this through actively seeking education and also being around other people who are also out. And I think that is really what creates a queer experience, is the combination of the understanding of this longer legacy that, you know, even when I came out and I posted that video, I knew that it was on the backs of so many people who had come before me and done the work before me to make that experience just a little bit easier for me and possible for me. And so as a queer person, I see it as my role now to do the same for other people.
Yeah. And I definitely wanted to just say that I hope you know that your coming out video is iconic, not only because, like, it's a good video and you dropped bars, but also, like, I really do think it's fair to say that it did encourage a lot of people to come out on their own terms as well, because you gave them the language and you gave them the visual language of, like, how do you do this? How do you sit in front of a camera and really talk to yourself and others? And when I think about that video, there's this line that you said that I think about all the time. It's when you were talking about how you were in a constant battle of distraction and suppression, and how coming out and embracing your queerness helped relieve some of that tension. And I was just wondering, like, do you still feel that tug 10 years later, whether it's with your sexuality or, like, in other areas of your life?
No.
Good.
I mean,
Good.
I was actually thinking about this the other week, and I was just thinking about how much I had built up before I came out, and even post coming out, that was really just a stepping stone to learning more about myself and unpacking more things about myself personally. And I feel so much lighter now. Obviously, like, we all have things that we're navigating, but I don't feel like I'm hiding from people anymore. It was this constant feeling of, I am going to be found out. Like, somebody is going to realize that I shouldn't be here. I am lying about who I am. That's what it felt like the entire time before I came out. And now 10 years later, I just don't feel that. I used to wake up every day and feel that, and I don't feel that anymore. And that feels like the ultimate freedom.
Yeah. And I was going back to the video to sort of get ready for this. And yeah, like, to what Candice said, there's just so many comments from, 2 weeks ago even, like, of people saying how important this video was to them. But something else actually that I noticed a trend in the comments in more recent years is people remarking on, and this is going to make us all feel old, which happens constantly to me on this podcast, but, like, that this era of feeling the need to come out online and having to, like, make this sort of announcement, like, that is to, people now coming up online now and who are queer, unfamiliar, I guess, because I think they don't feel the need to come out. And so I'm like, it's much more, I don't know, I guess, accepted, ingrained, it's not as shocking. And so with that in mind, like, are you grateful about the video? Is there any part of you that wishes it didn't have to be this huge thing?
I mean, obviously, like, I want people who are coming out to have a seamless experience. I don't want them to have to experience hardships or, I mean, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
For people to be able to be themselves without being in danger, whether it's emotionally, psychologically, physically. And so to just see, even within 10 years, that it's, like, a little bit easier for people now, that feels like a success. And I don't ever want to say, like, abuse that people experience online is worth it. And I have no regrets about posting that video. I needed to do it. The reason why I did it is because I had to do it for myself, because there was no way that I could move forward with what I was doing. I had a career that was based off of being myself, and I couldn't continue doing that without letting people know. And I also didn't want, someone to see me, holding hands with a woman or on a date with a woman and take that story from me. I wanted to be the one to tell it myself, and I think everybody should have the right to do that. Yeah. They shouldn't have their story taken from them. So if my video gives people the agency to be themselves, and it's a little bit easier and, more seamless than it was for me, then that feels like, okay, it was worth it. And every week I meet someone who mentions my coming out video, and, it means so much to me. I love hearing where people are in their lives and, the moment where they saw my coming out video. And I think we all want to have a positive impact on someone's life, and having those face-to-face interactions and realizing these are real people who were impacted by this video. And now they're off living their lives and, making a positive impact on other people. That feels so wonderful. What a gift.
Yeah. Even though people aren't necessarily making standalone coming out videos anymore, one thing that I just noticed, because I went through a few of them, I was looking at the comments, the fact these videos are there as a historical record almost. And it's almost that people having that journey themselves now have those to turn to. And so, which is something that, viewers in real time didn't necessarily, they were watching it unfold, but now they exist as a resource, and they're kind of at their own canon. Everyone's oh yeah, I've seen them all. Because I think, like what you were saying with reading what Akila wrote, hearing other people say the words is just oh yeah, I didn't even know what I was feeling. And so, yeah, even though it's maybe not a thing people do anymore, that doesn't mean those old videos are gathering dust. Like I said, people are commenting every week. There's a new comment on your video from someone, either just stumbling upon it or revisiting it, because they that's something people do too. They rewatch it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, if I were coming out now, I would absolutely be watching all those coming out videos for sure. So I get that. I'm also someone who loves to research and be well informed on whatever it is I am about to do. And so it makes sense that if I was a teenager now, or, it wasn't my job, I would totally I loved Encarta. This makes sense. I would be watching all the videos. Yeah. But I remember what I did do before I came out was I Google searched things, and I could not find answers to my questions. Yeah. And so even though 2015 is definitely not that far away in terms of what was available, there was not the kind of educational content that in the closet people are looking for, resources that can actually be helpful. I know people laugh all the time about, the question of well, how do you have gay sex? How do lesbians have sex? But that is a valid question for people who are coming out of the closet, and you have grown up in this very heteronormative world. That's a valid question to have. You're going to, we're not even fully informed about heterosexual sex. Yeah. Right. So we are definitely not informed about queer sex. And now there's just so much more available. But back in 2015, it was slim pickings.
Yeah. I would love to end on just your relationship with YouTube now, because 5 years ago, you posted a video saying that you were going to step back from YouTube, and you have now gone on to a whole new chapter with your candle company, The New Savant, and watching you dominate that space and get into it is also really interesting. And so I just wanted to ask, do you miss anything about being a full-time YouTuber? And just how do you feel about your legacy now that you're kind of a few years out of it?
The one thing I miss is that, like, really intangible feeling of, like, the internet community. I just think that is so special. And as an internet kid through and through, I will always love that. So that is the aspect that I miss, but everything else I can confidently say no. Especially having to, like, film this video because I wanted to do it, but as I was, like, setting it up, and I just did it on my phone. Like, I didn't even have, like, my old, professional setup. I was like, this is just not for me anymore. Like, going through this whole thing. And, yeah, it's definitely very much something that is in my past that I'm grateful for. I'm so grateful for the experience and the professional development. But, yeah, it's not something I miss as a whole. And I feel like now I've been able to find, community in other ways. And, as a, internet person starting the new Savant, we have such an active online community. So I feel like I still get that, like, feeling through them. Which is really exciting. But now there's just more of a separation. Like, I'm not the product being sold anymore. I am able to use my creativity and infuse these, like, tangible, real products with these stories, with my vision. And then I'm able to just be a person, too. Whereas, like, the lines were very blurred with YouTube.
Yeah. I do like, though, because it's funny, like, you fully made a video being like, this is my last video. It's, like, literally what it's titled. Like, I will not be making more. But what I do like is that people still are subscribed. And so then I remember when this, 10-year reflection video came up, it was kind of something sweet about the idea of, like, I'm trying to think of a parallel, but the closest one I can think of is the dark mark in Harry Potter, which is not what I want to use. But where it was like everyone who didn't unsubscribe, like, they still kept the subscribe. It was suddenly like, oh my God, here we all are again. And that was very sweet.
Yeah. And when I made my last video, I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, and I'm going to be back. But over this last year, just knowing that this was my 10-year anniversary coming up, it just felt intrinsically right to me. I'm such a creative person, and I am just always listening to, like, the little signs that, my body is, like, giving me or just out in the world. And I just kept coming back to this idea of just come back. Like, it feels right. It's not my job anymore. I don't have an intention to keep going. It can just be this one-off special thing because it was a huge moment in my life, and now I know it was a huge moment for so many other people, and it just felt like 10 years is a huge milestone for any kind of, relationship. This one happens to be, like, with myself and my community, so it felt right to do.
Okay, that's the show. We want to thank Ingrid Nilsen for joining us on today's episode. We'll be back in your feed on Wednesday, so definitely subscribe. That way, you never miss an episode. Leave us a rating and a review in Apple or Spotify, and tell your friends about us. You can follow us on Twitter at ICYMI_pod, and you can always drop us a note at ICYMI@slate.com.
ICYMI is produced by Vic Whitley-Berry, Candice Lim, and me, Kate Lindsay. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer, Mia Lobel is Slate's executive producer of podcasts, and Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. See you online.
Or getting a head start on Vlogmas.
This summer, Instacart is bringing back your favorites from $19.99 with prices from $19.99. That means 90s prices on juice pouches that ought to be respected, 90s prices on boxed mac and cheese, and 90s prices on ham, cheese, and cracker lunches. Enjoy all those throwbacks and more at throwback prices, only through Instacart. $4.72 maximum discount per $10 of eligible items. Limit 1 offer per order. Expires September 5th while supplies last. Discount based on CPI comparison.